Alright, Chapter
It's been a long
5,
time
The
since this asylum
Forsaken.
had a good reputation.
Part 5 for my video
Will
series.
I really find you here?
So we're more than halfway done with the game. We only have 3 more chapters after this to go. So for Chapter 5, this chapter, I equally like and dislike it. The reason I like this chapter is because you can sprint around pretty safely for the first half of the chapter, and then you just have to go through a few patrols after that. So the one thing I want to mention first is you saw me run to the side of the entrance. You actually have to run to a certain place to trigger the doors opening. So that's why I did that. Now the reasons why I don't like the chapter is because there's a lot of errand cutscenes, so that means there's a lot of cutscenes you can't really skip. Another thing I like about this chapter is that there's no loading screen in the middle. It's just the beginning and the end. So one of the major time savers I want to mention is at the beginning you don't want to follow the objective markers. You want to go the way I'm going right now. What the designers wanted you to do is to go to the female ward, find out that there's no key and that's locked, and you have to go to the male ward to find the key and run back to the female ward to unlock it and all that. The way I do it is you go to the female ward, as you saw, go down a level, go through that vent there, and then go through this door into the cafeteria, and then you'll be going to this door coming up and going up a level, and then you'll skip the whole locked door situation, and you'll be in a female ward directly. So the way I do it, you'll skip the male ward entirely and you won't even see it. So for here, there's 2 ways of doing it. I recommend my way right now, which is to go to Aaron's room, which is this room. The other way you do it is you lockpick there's a door in the middle that's locked, and if you lockpick it, there's an explosion and you have to climb up and jump over. I think this way is a little bit faster. You still have to wait a little bit for that door to open. So to continue onward, you have to go to this room, pick up this document here, which will trigger the event of the wheelchair here to roll forward so you can continue. And up, we'll go into the treatment center, and that's the area where you have to start worrying about the patrols and not being spotted. But in the meantime, let's see, you're still safe. Once you turn on the generator and go through the rooms, you're still safe and you can still sprint. This area is pretty freaky. I guess the first time you play it, it's a little scary. I think it's one of the most popular chapters that's mentioned about for this game, just because of the atmosphere, which is well done for the first time you run it. So here I turn on the generator, and to continue onwards you have to press this button here to open all the doors. Once you press the button, you have to wait a little bit for all the doors to open. So while that's happening, I'm opening this drawer just to pick up the flash bomb that's inside of it. Just something for me to do while I'm waiting for this door to open. It's also a good pickup for me to sell later. So to continue on here, you have to pick up that syringe, and then it'll trigger this fun, not so fun, errand cutscene that we have to wait through.
Don't let him see you lose control.
So you'll see me picking up loot still. The reason for that is I need a certain amount of gold to make sure I have enough rope arrows for the last 2 chapters of the game, which is chapter 7 and chapter 8. If I remember correctly, I need 3 rope arrows minimum to make sure I get through with the method I use. So after this part where you get stabbed in the eye with a needle, this is the part where you have to start worrying about being spotted by NPCs. In this particular area, there's some crazy patients around that you have to worry about. But using this method, you go to this room and then just hop by past them all through these vents. And here the objective marker wants you to go, well, the game, the objective marker wants you to go to the elevators. But I can recommend the way I go, which is through the vents here. You'll bypass the elevator entirely. This area is still a little bit slow just because you have to wait through the vent animations, opening these vents, and the fact that you can't swoop in these vents also slows it down a little. But here I pick up the loot, because I mentioned earlier about wanting to make sure I have enough gold later on. But coming up here is we're at the bottom level of the asylum, and this is where the freaks start showing up. So the first freak you spot here, he runs past. You want to wait for a little bit to make sure he runs away. Like you can see him climb up the vent right there. You want to make sure he climbs up the vent and disappears before you continue onward. I mean, you can just do what I do, which is just crawl past, but if you try to swoop past or sprint past, he'll still spot you, even though he's running away, and then you'll have to start the chapter over again. So for here, you can just slowly crawl by that freak. The freaks are blind, but they're very sensitive to noises and light. So you can the best way to bypass them on when you're trying to do a ghost method is just to crawl past them. The way you can make the crawl faster is to kind of spam the crawl button. Since I'm playing on PC, the crawl button for me is the control, and when I'm going past the freaks, I'm just holding control down for a second, letting it go, holding it down, letting it go, and that kind of speeds the process of getting past them. So once you get to this box area that I got just past, you're pretty much done with the level. You don't have to worry about being spotted anymore. You just ignore these freaks around the doors, and then all you have to go through is a errand cutscene, and you're done with the chapter.
What happened to this place, Aaron? Was it you?
So like I mentioned before, freaks are a little bit, I'm more worried about freaks than guards just because of their sensitivity to noise, but spamming that, the slower movement button will help make it a little bit faster. So for this errand cutscene here, there's no way I found so far to speed it up. The one thing I want to mention though is you do have to pick up these poppies, at least for the first part I think, to trigger the door being available to open.
Something's wrong with the prisoners.
I think there's one part where you can skip picking it up, which can save a little bit of time.
I want to stop the voices.
It might be this next one coming up.
Garrett, where are you?
I think you have to pick that one up to still trigger this door. But up here, there's a poppy on the second bed frame up there. You can skip that one. Because for this one, you just have to do the lockpick, so you don't have to pick up that poppy flower. So after you finish lockpicking, you have to go through one more door. So for this part, I actually had a brain fart. You're supposed to go to the door on the right where I was supposed to go, but for some reason I just was out of it, and then I forgot what I was supposed to do. So excuse me wandering around for a little bit. It's a good thing it wasn't a serious speed run, or I think I would have had to reset because that was pretty dumb of me. Now, after you go through this cutscene, that's when the chapter's over, and then you can go back to the city and continue on trying to rescue Aaron. So if you're wondering about the story, we came here to try to get Aaron, and then the cutscene told us that Aaron was actually taken away back to the city with the Baron. So as you can see here, it's a majority ghost, and I think I mentioned it in the previous video. All the chapters would be majority ghost, except for chapter 4, which was opportunist. So for here, there's no cutscene to skip. You actually have to wait till Garrett finishes talking in order to trigger the waypoint to leave the clock tower. So now we're heading to chapter 6, which is the Baron chapter, where you have to go through his mansion to continue. There's 2 guards you have to get past in the city to get to the chapter 6 waypoint, and they're coming up pretty soon. These guards are it's a little more tricky to get past these 2, just because even though it looks like you're in the dark, the gem that indicates light says you're still in plain sight. So over here, I recommend coming up to this crate over here, and then once that guard's over there, just swoop past. And you want to actually hug the boxes here, because as you can see with the light gem, you're still able to be seen. So that's the end of this video, and I'll see you in part 6, where we go through chapter 6.